Good morning, students. Now we will talk about sewing threads. So we have already talked about 4-point grading system and correlation between direct correlation between fabric quality and apparel quality. And earlier we have studied raw material inspection, how much to inspect, 0% inspection, 100% inspection, spot checking, arbitrary sampling, statistical sampling. So all these things we have studied. So now we will study about sewing threads, zippers, handling and processing zipper, ratcheting, shear, slide holder, fly surging, hump, popping, chemical degradation, etc. Buttons, buckles, snap fasteners, and other things. So in process inspection. So that's the next topic. So I hope to complete all these things in this 40 minutes because for me these are easily understandable by you. You are better than me because you are completing your training. Yeah, you will be completing your training and coming here after fifth semester. So what I mean to say is garments parts. So these are all garment parts. Sewing threads. Quality of sewing thread has marked effect on sewing productivity because if the sewing thread keeps breaking, often it will force sewing machine operator to slow down. Therefore, quality of sewing thread is very important. The necessity of good quality sewing threads is evident from the following. So, quality of sewing thread has marked effect on sewing productivity. So, if the sewing thread is very good, if it is not breakable, if it is not easily breakable, then it has marked effect on sewing productivity. Because if the sewing thread keeps breaking, often it will force sewing machine operator to slow down. Because if the sewing thread keeps breaking, it will slow down the operator. They are very simple things. Therefore, quality of sewing thread is very important. The necessity of good quality sewing threads is evident from the following. So here I don't want to read this, but I will read. I don't know where do you want it. So I will read little bit for your understanding. Like the earlier technical advisory committee in the last class, I told you in the technical advisory committee, and they have given one paragraph. Similarly, I will read a paragraph. So let's start. The necessity of good quality sewing threads is evident from the following. Munden and Durkin, 1973. During the process in a high-speed lock-stitch machine, the thread is subjected to complex kinematic and dynamic conditions. The speed at which it passes through the needle eye can reach 140 to 165 kilometers per hour. And at the moment at which the thread is caught by the sewing hook, The speed reaches 200 meters, 2000 meters per second. While moving at such speeds, the thread is subjected to friction from a number of guides. While moving at such speeds, the thread is subjected to friction from a number of guides from the needle eyes, from the fabric being sewn, from the bobbin case assembly, and from the bottom thread. At the same time, the thread is subjected to many stresses, all of which take place very quickly and at high speed. These effects act on the thread repeatedly and for a fairly prolonged period of time. Since a length of thread before being incorporated in a stitch may pass more than 30 times through a fabric, the needle eye and the bobbin case mechanism. Such a severe working condition with the heat generated in the needle can reduce the initial strength of a thread by as much as 60%, and this is one of the causes of increased breakage in the needle thread during high speed sewing. If you observed me carefully, first in 20 lines, I have first 10 lines I have studied with interest, and after 10 lines I lost interest. So this is something I need to develop. So whatever. So please understand what is the sewing thread. It runs at very high speed. It is a thread of high strength which runs at very high speed, 140 to 165 kilometers per hour, and at the peak of the work it will reach to 2000 meters per second, which means 2 kilometers per second. So you see the bus speed is, I don't know, most of the people are going in cars nowadays. Nobody talks about buses anymore. So bus speed is 60-70 kilometers per hour. Per minute. Here he talks about 2 kilometers, 2000 meters per second. Imagine what is the speed. Imagine the speed of the sewing machine, 2 kilometers per second. So with that high speed, it has to undergo friction from needle eye, thread guides. He says, what is that guides? He says something, a number of guides, thread guides, fabric, from the fabric. It will develop friction because of all these things. So it has to overcome all these things. Do you understand? It has to overcome all these things. So next, so that is about a research study. I want to leave it at that point. Next one is construction. Therefore, sewing threads should be checked and tested for the following characteristics. So this is important. That is about research. And this is about what you have to learn. What you have to learn from them, from the research, and what you have to learn from the properties from the author. He has quoted from research studies. Just now I studied a paragraph from Munden and Durkin. So those are the research people. So that paragraph is quoted from them. From them means from their books or from their research journals. something like that. Now we are learning about author. Therefore, sewing thread should be checked and tested for the following characteristics. Construction. So, what are the following characteristics? One is construction, second one is sewability, third one is finish, fourth one is color, fifth one is spool color and spool hardness, next one is yardage. So all these things. Construction. Yarn count, yarn ply, number of twists, twist balance, yarn strength, yarn elongation. The test methods for testing these characteristics are covered later in the chapter 5 on testing. So this here he talks about construction. So construction. Yarn count, yarn ply. So count means you all know what is count. Number of 840 yards in, I forgot. Number of 840 yards. Number of leaves in 840 yards. Okay. So that is about count. Number of leaves in 840 yards. Or I don't know, please refer. After coming to diploma, I forgot spinning. I have been teaching weaving for so many years. I forgot spinning nowadays. So yarn count, yarn ply. Ply means twist, whether it is doubly twisted or singly twisted or S twisted or Z twisted. So, number of twists. So number of twists means whether we have 20 turns per meter or 20 turns per inch or 30 turns per inch or 40 turns per inch or 50 turns per inch or 60 turns per inch or 70 turns per inch or 80 turns per inch or 90 turns per inch or 100 turns per inch. So that is about number of twists. Next, twist balance. What is twist balance? I don't know really. Twist balance. Yarn strength. Yarn strength is also known as tenacity. Yarn elongation. Yarn count, yarn ply, number of twists, twist balance, yarn strength, yarn elongation. So these are the one, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 characteristics in construction. Yarn count, yarn ply, number of twists, twist balance, yarn strength, yarn elongation. Next is sewability. So sewability. At least 3 sewing thread packages from a lot should be used for at least 3 sewing thread packages from a lot should be used for at least 100 meters each for sewing under normal conditions and a record kept of running performance. A good quality sewing thread should be able to produce uniform, consistent stitches. A good quality sewing thread should be able to produce uniform, consistent stitches in the chosen sewing material at the highest machine speed under normal conditions. In addition, actually using at least 3 packages of sewing thread at, from each lot or shipment will give a very good indication of any imperfections such as slubs, knots, as well as quality of thread finish, quality of winding. Any imperfection or poor thread finish and or poor quality of thread winding will cause excessive breakage of the sewing thread during sewing operation, resulting in lower sewing efficiency and product quality. So sewability means the ability to be sewn. A good quality sewing thread should be able to produce consistency, that is the word, uniform, consistent stitches in the chosen sewing material at the highest machine speed under normal conditions. So this is 3 lines that you can write in the exams, that is enough. Next one is finish. Thread finish is basically a lubricant applied to a sewing thread so that the thread will slip easily and smoothly through the eye of the sewing machine needle and through various thread handling parts of a sewing machine. This finish varies from 3 to 15% of the weight of the thread. The amount of finish must be consistent from package to package and from lot to lot. Otherwise, sewing quality and efficiency will be lost completely. This is very easy for you. I am going on touching my hair like this. I don't know why. This has become a habit. Very bad habit or good habit or neutral habit. I like to talk about general topics, but so it is a, what do you call this? I call it Telugu. In Telugu there is a word. అనుకోకుండా చేయడం అన్నట్టు this is not I am doing purposefully. My hand goes there and I am doing like that. So that is also, there are hobbies, good hobbies, bad habits, neutral hobbies. Neutral means it has nothing to do with anything. Why? I don't know. So let's talk about finish. Okay. Maybe maybe for the viewers I am looking like a mad person or something. So finish. Thread finish is basically, what is a finish? It is a thread finish that is applied to a lubricant. This is a lubricant. Lubricant means like even Jendu balm is a lubricant. Amrutanjan is a lubricant. So lubricant oil, lubricant is grease, kerosene is also a lubricant. So these are different kinds of lubricants. I don't know what they use for garments lubricants. You have to find it. You find it. So I will also try to find it in the next coming classes. So it is a thread finish applied to a thread, sewing thread, so that it will easily slip into the eye of the needle and through various thread handling parts of a sewing machine and through various thread handling parts of a sewing machine. And there are other parts also it has to go through. There it should be easily slip into. This finish varies from 3 to 15% of the weight of the thread. Suppose weight of the thread is 100 grams, then the weight of the lubricant is 3 grams to 15 grams. The amount of finish must be consistent from package to package and from lot to lot. Otherwise, sewing quality and efficiency will be lost completely. That means you are using sewing threads for so many machines. For example, suppose you have 100 machines and sewing thread is required for 100 machines, and for all the 100 machines there will be same fabric, and for the same fabric you need to have consistent sewing thread. Not only consistent sewing thread, but also the application of lubricant to the sewing thread should also be consistent and sound, perfect. So you understand. I am telling you one more time. There are 100 machines from K company. And a Z company sold a fabric to 1000 kgs fabric to be sewn over 100 machines. So each machine gets 10 kg. For each 10 kg of fabric we need suppose 2 kg of sewing threads. For 2 kg of sewing thread we need how much? 3 to 15%. I read it, okay. 3 to 15% of lubricant. 2 kg, 3 to 15%. So 3 to 15%. So 2 kg means 300 grams. Or 150, 30 grams or 150 grams of lubricant is required, and this lubricant application to the all the 100 machines consisting of each 10 kg of fabric, and with the application of lubricant of 30 to 150 grams of lubricant should be uniform. Otherwise the garment quality will be lost. That's what the author is saying. So that's a long explanation for a short 2 lines. Next, color. Color of a sewing thread, including white, should match that of either the original or the standard sample and should not have noticeable variation within a lot or shipment of sewing thread. Also, the color should not bleed in washing and or dry cleaning or fade in sunlight. So it's very simple. Color of a sewing thread should match that of either the original or the standard sample, and should not have noticeable variation within a lot or shipment of sewing thread. So I have a black shirt. The sewing thread should also be black. If it is red, how will it be? You all will laugh at me. Ha 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 ha. Shekhar sir wore a funny dress. He always wears funny dresses, something like that. Suppose this black dress has a green sewing thread, then even my daughter will laugh. My wife will also laugh. What are you buying? And so that's so you understand my point. So that is about color. Sewing thread should match the color of the fabric. No variation in the color. I told you already, in the quality aspect, absence of variation. If you have studied the earlier, if you have seen the earlier YouTube videos, I have talked about quality means absence of variation. In that I have dealt with variation topic. So the color should not be, shade variation should not be there within a lot or shipment of sewing thread. Also, the color should not bleed in washing and or dry cleaning or fade in sunlight. Also, the color should not bleed in washing and or dry cleaning or fade in sunlight. Sometimes I go overboard to teach classes. Now it is your duty to look out the meaning, to look into the meaning of overboard. Look into, look after, look out. These are different words. This is also root words. Root words, like I told in the morning class. Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. So next, spool hardness. Spool hardness. This refers to quality of winding. Quality of winding. If sewing thread is wound with insufficient tension, the winding will be loose, and the spool will feel soft in touch. On the other hand, if sewing thread is wound with excessive tension, the spool will feel hard. Spool hardness should be consistent from spool to spool within a shipment. I got a message from Zoom. So anyway, or lot, and from shipment to shipment. If spool hardness varies too much, sewing machine operators will have to adjust the tension frequently, resulting in lower productivity. So spool hardness. Spool hardness means it talks about full spool, not empty spool. Please understand that. Generally, my mind goes like that. When somebody says spool hardness, I think of spool as a spool. Spool means cherka, patangi. అందరు పతంగిలు ఎగరేసే ఉంటారు, గాలిపటాలు. సో అది చెరక అని ఏమంటారు, స్పూల్ అంటారు. సో దట్ ఈస్ ఏ బిగ్ spool. In sewing machines, we have small spools. not spool, like you call some reels. So spool hardness means the tension with which sewing thread is wound onto the spool should be uniform and perfect. If the tension is low, it is problem. If the tension is high, it is another problem. If the tension is high, it will become too tight. If the tension is low, it will become loose or slack. Slack, SLACK. It will become slack. So slack means no tension. So if sewing thread is wound with excessive tension, the spool will feel hard. I told you already. Spool hardness should be consistent from spool to spool within a shipment or lot and from shipment to shipment. Spool hardness should be consistent from spool to spool. This is, I told you just 10 minutes back, 1000 kg, 100 machines and all these things. So for each spool, it should be same, tension should be same. Suppose you have 10 machines, and if you are producing the same fabric from same company, I mean if you are producing same garment with the raw material from the same company's fabric, then you should have spool to spool, you should not have spool to spool variation in hardness criteria. So please understand that. Not only from, he talks a lot, you see, he talks a lot about this thing. I mean, in a very large way. Please understand, I will read one more time. Should be consistent. Spool hardness should be consistent from spool to spool. Spool to spool within a shipment. So there is a shipment, and in that there are spools. There is a shipment consisting of lots which has spools. So all of them should be of equal hardness. And from shipment to shipment. So this is one more thing. From shipment to shipment. Suppose if you have shipped sewing threads Monday and then again on Tuesday, that means you have sent 2 shipments. Then the shipments should have same spool hardness. So that is one point. So we are running out of time, so I have to complete yardage, and then so this is about spool hardness. Next, yardage. Length of sewing thread on each package should be at least the specified amount or within a certain tolerance, such as plus or minus 2% of the labeled length. Length of sewing thread on each package should be at least the specified amount or within a certain tolerance, such as plus or minus 2% of the labeled length. So what is this? What does it mean by yardage? Now I will try to talk 3 to 4 minutes about yardage, and then we will summarize the topic. So the length of the yarn or sewing thread on a spool or on each package should be within the specified amount. So what does it mean? Suppose if the labeled length is 100 meters, then the actual length, labeled length is label. They have written on the label that it is, this spool contains 100 meters length. So the actual length when measured should be within the tolerance limit of plus or minus 2%. That means if the labeled length is 100 meters, it can have 98 meters or 1 or 2 meters, neither less nor more. It should not have more, it should not have less. So this is about yardage. So you understand what does it mean by yardage? Yardage means yard. What does it mean by yard? You know yard. How many yards equal to 1 feet? How many feet equal to how many inches are there in 1 yard? So this is for those who want to construct a house. I will tell you 121 yards is 1 gunta, and 242 yards is 2 guntas in Telugu. Gunta. So 121 yards. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. 3 feet equal to 36 inches. So 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. But this word is different. Yardage. It is not yard. It is not. So yard generally means it talks about length. There he has. There generally in yard means 3 feet. 3 feet means. So it talks about length. I am trying to make you understand that yardage and yard, trying to give you a connection between yardage and yard. Yardage means whatever I have read in the book. Yard means length of a land that is useful for constructing houses. So I will tell you this one more time. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. 3 feet equal to 36 inches. Why? Because 1 feet equal to 12 inches. 36 inches is equal to 110 or something. So some centimeters. 1.1 meters. Okay. 136 feet, 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, that is equal to 36 inches, and 1 inch equal to 2.54 centimeters. 1 inch equal to 2.54 centimeters. So these are all the measurement measurements of length. So here the author speaks about yardage. It means the length of the sewing thread. So it means the length of the sewing thread. So now I will summarize. Sewing threads, we have studied about the characteristics of sewing threads. One is construction. In construction we have yarn count, yarn ply, number of twists, twist balance, tenacity, that means yarn strength, and yarn elongation. So construction talks about all these things. Next is sewability. Sewability. A good quality sewing thread should be able to produce uniform, consistent stitches in the chosen sewing material at the highest machine speed under normal conditions. Finish. I talked about it very at length about this finish. So finish means lubricant that is used for it should be of 3 to 15% of the weight of the sewing thread. The sewing lubricant should be about 3 to 15% of the sewing thread. Color. The color of the sewing thread should match with the color of the fabric or original sample. Spool hardness. If sewing thread is wound with excessive tension, the spool will feel hard. And there should be consistent spool hardness from shipment to shipment. And yardage. Length of sewing thread on each packet should be within the tolerance limits of less or minus 2%. So that ends our today's class, and we are going to close the session now. So in the next class we will study about zippers and the problems of the zippers and other things.